Alrighty, welcome sixth graders. We're going to talk a little bit about how Europe and Russia were shaped by its history. So we're going to start with ancient Greece. Alright, so we can see this is ancient Greece. Alright, and Greece itself, the idea of Greece actually starts down here on the island of Crete in the city of Konos with the Minoans. Alright, and the Mycenaeans. Or Mycenaeans. Okay, so these are two civilizations that rule and dominate Crete. The Mycenaeans, they take it up here into Athens, up into the mainland of Greece. All right, so this is kind of where Greek civilization starts here, eventually moves up here into modern day Greece. Okay, another thing also too is look at the physical space. All right, notice that it's not very large. All right, literally the green on here, all this green on here is ancient Greece. All right, not very large at all. The issue with that is obviously space. Okay, and also farmable land, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. So each of these little civilizations, so Olympia, Sparta, Corinth, Delphi, Athens, and all the other ones, all of these think of themselves as a different country. All right, so cities are going to equal different country. Okay. So there's obviously going to be a lot of fighting. All right, think about if you have siblings, you're in a close area, especially if you share a room, you fight a lot with each other over different areas and different things. Unless you absolutely love each other, then that's very rare. I'm just joking. All right, so as I mentioned before, with farming, you notice that a lot, so all of these are all the city-states throughout Greece, okay? There's a lot of them, but they're all very small in what they're able to do. Now remember, on a map, brown equals mountains. So actually only 1/5, 20%, okay, of ancient Greece is farmable. Right, that leads to a lot of the fighting. Other things are, obviously like customs, theology, religions, okay, things of that nature. But a lot of this land isn't farmable, is inhabitable really, and so all of these little, all of these city states used to be villages. All right, and they're built on either farming or trade. Okay, look at all the sea that they had, all the ocean that they could do to trade with each other. All right, that's how really the Greeks got started. Okay, with a lot of what they did. All right, so if we look here at this map, and this doesn't show all the city-states as the other one did, but what I want you to focus on here is that, so what I want you to focus on here with this one is this gives you a broader idea of what it was like to all the land that they had to be able to trade. Okay, over here we know in Turkey this is not really great land, even though they had control of it by the ocean or the sea here. It was most of ancient Greece was focused on trade. All right, so that's what I want you to get from this map. Okay. All right, and so the last thing, the thing that the Greeks are most famous for is this idea of democracy. All right. However, the Greek idea of democracy and our idea of democracy are quite different. There was a man by the name of Solon, all right, who in 594 BC All right, which the date doesn't really matter, but I just want to kind of give you a name and an idea. He comes up with this idea. All right, so he reforms the laws of Athens. Okay, at this time, before this, you need to know that a lot of Athens before is controlled by the aristocrats, okay, or the wealthy. All right, and then eventually it gets to the middle class. Okay. So we have this idea of democracy. All right, and in democracy, what it was is that in Athens, and so we follow this through. So Athens, democracy comes from two different Greek words. All right, demos, which means common people. And, you can read that. The main thing here is this, though. In ancient Greece, ancient Athens here, the only person who could vote were these few down here. All right, these are the only ones who had full rights and who could participate in democracy. There were these men whose mother and father had to be both of Athenian parents. Okay, if your parents weren't, or if one parent wasn't, then you're considered a foreigner. You couldn't partake in it. So maybe your father was, but your mother wasn't, or maybe your mother was and your father wasn't. Women, all right, could not partake, even if their mother and father were both Athenian citizens. They could not. And finally, slaves, had no rights in the property of their owners. So only 1/3 of the population fell into this category. All right. So think about it. In today's idea of 1/3 of the population. So the United States has 365 million people. Imagine if only 100 million made all the decisions for you and I. All right. So that is the beginnings of Greece in a nutshell. We will continue working on this in class. If you have any questions, please bring them to class, or otherwise we will continue with our learning of how Europe and Russia were shaped by its history.